Namaste and welcome back to Waking Up with Mindful Serenity. We're going to continue trying to answer questions from the jar. I'm having some issues with the camera. We'll go so far and then we'll shut off on me, so let's see how it does. I pulled out a question a few minutes ago, and the question I pulled out was, hey Tuffy, see if I can read it. What is meant by the life we tend to live is the greatest distraction? What is meant by the life we tend to live is the greatest distraction? I'm going to take a deep breath and I will exhale. So I see in that statement, life, of course, is this experience of living that we all have as human beings. It's that time between the moment we take our first breath, and the moment we take our last breath. That dash on the epitaph. And it's asking the life we tend to live. So what life is it that we humans tend to live? What is this experience between the first breath and the last breath? What does it tend to be like? And I think what it is like for most of us is a struggle to get from life what we believe will make us happy, and to avoid or push away from life that which we believe will make us unhappy. That which is pleasant we will strive or cling for, and that which is unpleasant to this psyche and this human being I call me, we will tend to push away. When we push away, I want to stress a very important thing. We cannot really push away. First of all, we cannot take an experience in. Something that happens, and it's gone. But what every experience is wrapped with an emotional energy. Sometimes we'll pull that emotional energy in and we'll stuff and store it down, creating samskaras. So even though we think we're pushing away something, we're actually pushing it down inside, storing it in our subconscious brain, storing it in our bodies, storing it in our energy bodies, storing it in our emotional field. So we're actually hanging on to it, okay? So that being said, when we feel that we need to cling to something out there, get something out there to bring in so that we feel better, or we need to ensure that we keep everything out so we don't feel bad or worse, that indicates that there is something inside us that doesn't feel right, that is unpleasant, that is not something we want to experience. And that is what we are distracting from when we seek outside to get something to bring inside, or when we tend to push away that which is unpleasant. What we're really distracting from is this layer of samskaras inside us, this stuffed and stored energy. Most of it, not always negative, but most of it what we would consider negative in our dualistic thinking. And we don't want to experience it again. We don't want to experience it. We don't want to sit with it. We don't want to allow it to come up. We don't like that discomfort. So instead of dealing with what's inside our past and our memories, well, not that we have to get into detail about memories, but the emotional energy around those memories and all that yucky stuff, we're going to reach out, okay, I'm going to grab that because that's good, and I'll push that inside, and I'll think about that, and I'll hold on to that, or I'll push that away, and I won't deal with that because that might trigger this, and this will all come up, and I don't want to have to deal with that negative energy, and I don't want to have to deal with this negative energy. So we're constantly distracting by our process of looking in the external world to get things that make us feel better and to push away the painful. So I might want to, and so it's a very collective energy, a very collective conditioning, in a sense of this is what you do as a human being. You go out, you get education, you get a good job, you marry somebody, or you have a significant other, maybe you'll have children, have some pets, have a nice house, nice car, whatever, depending on the society you're growing up in situations. But in North America, I know that is the lives we tend to live, or tend to want to live. And that seems to be our goal setting. And the more money you have, the better looking you are, the more fit and healthy you are, the more things you own, and the better quality they are, the better behaved your children are, the better educated you or your children are, the better job you have that has a greater status symbol, all seems to raise us up on this level of the pursuit of happiness, right? This makes this what we believe will get us that happiness we're looking for. And that becomes the life many of us here tend to live. Not everybody's going to achieve that. Not everybody's going to be successful. Not everybody's going to have the right amount of money. Circumstances come in, things happen. And some of us may not be up at that level. And we may feel less than because we are not at that level. And we'll strive even harder, or we'll give in to some self-fulfilling prophecy saying that, well, we'll never get there. We're just going to be pitied. So then we seek pity from the world rather than all those things. So there's different ways of approaching life, but those are the two ways we tend to approach it here where I come from, in my culture, and from what I recognize and observe around me. So I am distracting from this stuff I buried about my not being enough. And if I look really closely into my samskaras, of course I got all these layers of pain and emotional energy that I have to process through, but underneath that are these deep core beliefs that came from the messaging that was, part of the pain we experienced that we couldn't handle. And that messaging is usually, you're not good enough, you're not worthy, it's only going to happen, it's these good things are only going to happen to so many people. There's not enough good things in the world, And we distract from that negativity, those negative core beliefs, with the samskaras on top, because it's sometimes easier to, look at life circumstance than it is to look at the core beliefs that tends to be propagating those life circumstances. And so we're distracting from that, and then we get the samskara layer, and we're distracting from the samskara layer all the emotional energy we stuffed by trying to get things on the outside to make us feel better, to redeem ourselves with. Because this is probably a shame-based emotion, not in everybody, but in many of us. And we want to redeem ourselves by getting those things in the external world, which we erroneously assume will make us feel better inside. So this grabbing from the outside world is a distraction. The samskara, the emotional energy, the pain can come from as a distraction from the core beliefs that are underneath it that are saying such terrible things we don't even want to recognize. If I have a heavy layer of samskara here, I don't hear those core beliefs tell me that I'm not worthy and that I'm shame-based. All I hear is, go get that, go get this, it'll make you feel better, right? Or push that away. Don't go there, it'll make you feel worse. So we have the outside seeking and pushing away as a distraction for the samskara layers. We have the samskara layers as a distraction from those deep core beliefs underneath from all the past messaging that we received. Wow, eh? So the lies we tend to live are a distraction from samskara and from core belief. Why do we have samskaras and core beliefs in the first place? Is because we erroneously assumed that it was our job to come down here and tell life what to do. We had expectations, in these bodies of form, in these physical form worlds, for form to serve us in whatever form that form comes in. Very species-centric as human beings. We think that the world is here to serve us. We're supposed to be able to pull from it whatever we need and do whatever we want with it. Life is supposed to be serving us. If it's not serving us, there must be some kind of message I'm supposed to learn or whatever. And we just personalize it so much. And we've taken these amazing consciousness, which is expanded love, Satchidananda, eternal existence, consciousness, and bliss, and focused it down, narrow our lens focus onto this samskara layer, and to these core beliefs, and to this action of pulling and grabbing from life, and resisting what's not good, and needing and preferring and selecting and desiring what we assume is good. And that whole process of living the lives we tend to live has become a distraction for the consciousness, right? And consciousness, which could be expanding on absolutely everything, focusing on absolutely everything other than the little me drama that the samskara and core beliefs and this grasping and pushing away creates. It could be just, it's amazing, just exploring this world in itself, which is amazing. Earth is amazing. Being in this physical body is amazing. Doesn't matter how many disease cells are in it or what it's doing. Being in this body is amazing. Just watch what the body can do. Having these minds that can create these amazing things, that can think and, feel, and is amazing. The energy in us is amazing. Most of our energy levels are down because we're focusing down on little me. We're focusing on our distractions of pushing and pulling away, and which distract from the samskara layers, which distract from the core belief layers. But what an amazing process. Just look at that. But we're so distracted. Consciousness, who we are at the deepest level, is taking all this that we are, narrowing the lens down on these little me's with these core beliefs and samskaras, with this grasping and clinging. And we're not being who we are. We're not living the lives we are here to meet, to live, which is simply to experience all this amazing stuff. And being in this amazing situation with these amazing bodies and minds. But our distraction has created something called the personality and the little me, the ego, and that's where we focus all our attention, right? So how do we untangle ourselves from all these distractions? How do we fall back into who we really are, so that we're not distracted anymore, that we're focusing on what is? Well, we begin first of all from the most external layer. We start recognizing how we're grasping and clinging and pushing away. We start recognizing why we're grasping and clinging, because we don't feel good inside. So we say, okay, this is not really working and making me feel better inside. It's just making me grasp more and cling more and push away more. So I recognize that this life, the way I tend to be living, is not really serving, right? It doesn't really stop me from feeling when it's there to feel. And then I start sitting with that. That's the what is, right? Oh my goodness, I have this mind that clings. I have this mind that pushes away. I have this tendency to push away. I have this tendency to cling because I feel there's something inside me that doesn't feel right. Then we take it a step further and we start looking in. Well, what doesn't feel good inside of me that's making me want to cling and making me want to push away? And you start looking at all these layers of emotional energy that are there, that are stuffed and stored. And by the willingness to look at this, we open up a bit so these can come up to the surface to be looked at, to be experienced. And we learn to sit with the discomfort of them coming up instead of pushing them back down, right? We allow them to be. We say, oh, you're the distraction now. What? Okay, let me look at this distraction. And what are you distracting me from? And we go deeper to explore what's in our psyches, recognizing the psyche is not who we are, which is something we created. So let me have a good look at that psyche and let me see what's going on in it, what makes it what it is and why I made it in the first place. And we start looking at those core beliefs, for example, and start allowing them to be explored and looked deeply upon and understood. And then we say, okay, core beliefs, what were you distracting me from? You were keeping me in psyche, in this little me mode. Well, what's behind little me that I was focusing my attention on? What is doing the focusing of the attention? And you fall back even further into the self, away from the mind and the psyche, the core beliefs, the emotional energy that we trapped, the samskaras, and from this tendency we have as human beings to grasp and cling. And we fall back here and we look at the experienced life from back here. Oh, and everything in front of us, everything that we've been grabbing for, everything that we've been pushing away is just an object of consciousness, right? Just something, this expanded consciousness of love was staring at, right? Wow, I see myself doing that now. Then you say, why was it doing it? Well, because it was trying to protect me from all that emotional energy I stuffed and stored. Let's have a look at that. This human I call me, I can watch it, deal with those samskaras. I can watch the samskaras coming up. I can see this me dealing with them. Let's go deeper. Oh, why? Core beliefs. Oh, look at the core beliefs this human thinks it is. It doesn't recognize who we really are as expanded love. It's just create this little image of itself with all these core beliefs and explore the core beliefs and then go deeper to say, okay, I am the one that's watching all this. And why am I watching all this? Because I'm distracted from being who I am, the watcher, the objective observer, the light of consciousness itself. And, once we get back here, there's really no words to describe or no way to explain it. It's just a matter of simply being and knowing the felt experience of. And that's the process of disentangling ourselves from this life we tend to live for distraction purposes. We do not have to be distracted. We can simply be who we are. Well, anyway, that's all I have to say about that. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have an amazing day. Namaste.